talking about some deals that have happened, and we're going to start with some younger guys, some rookies, some guys on the rookie deals signing their max deal extensions, and we have five of them, as I can count so far. Brandon Ingram of the Pelicans, Jayson Tatum of the Boston Celtics. Mark, we know you love that one. Donovan Mitchell of the Utah Jazz, De'Aaron Fox of the Sacramento Kings, and Bam Adebayo of Miami. Guys, I'll just ask you real quick. Is there anyone that jumps out there, especially as deserving for a max deal? Mark, I think I know your answer, so let's just go to you. Who do you think is the most deserving of the 5-year, $190-something million extension that these guys all got?
I would say Tatum, but also Ingram. I think Ingram really proved last year that he's like a real good player in this league. So I'm pretty happy for him.
Yeah.
Also,
Absolutely.
two of my Duke guys, big Duke basketball
Duke
guys.
guys.
So
Oh yeah, that's right. Bi went to Duke. Yeah, I kind of forgot.
yeah,
I kind of forgot when those guys only play like 10 games and then they're out
yeah,
of there. It's kind of hard to remember
one
who's
season.
there.
Yeah,
It's like those old Kentucky teams, like the Devin Booker, Karl Anthony Towns years. I can never remember who was on those teams year to year. Bi, Jayson Tatum, two really capable wing players. Jayson Tatum, to me, if you're not going to do it, I'll point it out. I think he's probably the most deserving of this deal. The most established starter, maybe him and Donovan Mitchell, I would probably throw in there as established starters. Jayson Tatum has a little bit of better team around him, I would say, and therefore more playoff success. So he gets more of that spotlight. But Tatum and Mitchell, I would throw into those most deservings. Brandon Ingram just kind of coming on to the scene this last year or so after being traded to the Pelicans. Ryan, what do you think as you look across the field, these five guys?
But for me, I think Mitchell is the biggest one. I think he should have won Rookie of the Year,
Absolutely.
and I think he takes his team the highest. Like I think without him, the Utah Jazz would not be where they are. So
Yeah, I agree. You've got that really great defensive piece, Rudy Gobert, there, but he doesn't make the team like Donovan Mitchell does. He's that shot creator, playmaker type of guy. Another playmaker type of guy is De'Aaron Fox, who to me is still kind of a giant question mark 3 or 4 years into his career here, and that's mainly due to the team that he has around him. I'm confident in De'Aaron Fox, but do you guys feel like they should have given him the max extension when there's kind of no hope on the horizon for this team? Mark, I'll go back to you.
yeah. The Kings are a weird team. I mean, they've always been management has always been questionable. But in terms of De'Aaron Fox, I do think that he deserved to be paid. Like he's I guess he had a decent year last year, but I only see him like improving and getting better. Like, and I like the pairing of him and Buddy Hield. So
Yeah,
I think it was big for them to keep them both. And if this is, if they had to pay them the max, then I think that's a good thing to keep them both there.
yeah, I agree. He's a really fascinating player. He's kind of a Russell Westbrook type, super
Yeah.
hyper athletic, and just not the right pieces around him. They drafted Marvin Bagley a couple of years ago ahead of Luka Doncic, which will forever go down as one of the worst moves ever, I think, because Marvin Bagley has done nothing, and I don't really see anything coming up for him. Buddy Hield is a nice player, like you mentioned. I don't think he's a great player. I would kind of rather him be my third or fourth option rather than my second option. Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah.
De'Aaron Fox.
fastest player in the league.
Yeah.
I think just like what you said, he's such a great player, but the team around him is just so questionable. They drafted what's his name? Who were you guys just talking about? The center?
Bagley.
Yeah, they just drafted Bagley, and then they signed Hassan Whiteside earlier this week. So yeah, it's just a bunch of like question marks. So it's not a question of whether he's deserving of it. It's like whether the team is being like, they're building a championship team around him. So,
Yeah. No, and
a giant question mark.
yeah, I agree. And maybe this kind of stems for me just wanting to see him on another team. I think, De'Aaron Fox I would kind of like as my second option. I'd like to get him, if you could get him with a player like Tatum or Brandon Ingram, one of those kind of guys who can make shots on their own. Devin Booker, the list goes on and on of those kind of guys. But if you could get De'Aaron Fox in a spot where he doesn't have to create so much offense on his own, and someone else can help defend at that guard position, I think that would be a really special pairing to get him with someone like that. But the Kings don't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially being in the West. I mean,
the West.
You've got to build a good team around you.
Yeah, the West is so packed right now with talent. You're not going to get anywhere with it. You need 2 or 3 superstars, and De'Aaron Fox can be that superstar. I agree with you guys. But look at the Nuggets. They've got 2 genuine superstars in Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, and they can't get anywhere in that conference. So I don't know if that's going to change along the 5-year duration of this contract for De'Aaron Fox. What do you guys think?
They let Bogdanovich just walk.
Yeah, that's right. Bogdanovich we'll get to a little bit later, but he ran out of town, it sounds like. And the Kings weren't very interested in keeping him either. Kings, it's been an interesting spot ever since the Chris Webber years, the last time they were good. They had a couple playoff disappointments. Chris Webber, long time ago.
It's like 20 years ago.
It's at least 20 years ago, and it's been that long since they were any good. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like Chris Webber,
Stojakovic, yeah.
Jason Williams. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, right. That's a couple eras ago in basketball terms. The Kings are kind of a depressing conversation when you look. I honestly think the De'Aaron Fox pick is just a fluke. I don't know what he was picked at. I think like 6 or 7 in the 2017 draft, and their track record just shows that that's the only good guy they've picked in a long, long time. So that kind of
they had DeMarcus Cousins.
That's right. Good. Yeah, that's a good that's a great point to make. Boogie Cousins. Man, it would be good to have him in his prime back against De'Aaron Fox. Those two guys just kind of missed each other.
Hield and Boogie, that'd be a good.
I'd like that. I could roll with that a little bit. Prime Boogie, but obviously we're a long way away from prime DeMarcus Cousins, and we'll get there in a bit. A big man who is in his prime. Undoubtedly, Bam Adebayo of the Miami Heat. Kind of maybe an unexpected one as far as the average NBA fan goes. People might not have expected him to get this kind of money. Often kind of put in the corner of a role player, that kind of deal. Where do you guys see him? Is he a max type player, or does he just fit in with this Miami Heat group so well? Ryan, start with you.
I think he just fits in with the team very well. I think they've established that it's him, Tyler Herro, and Kendrick Nunn as their center young pieces, and then you add Jimmy Butler in there to control everything. And I just think he does his job really well. And
absolutely.
Something interesting to say about him is he's a 6'9" center.
Yeah.
And you don't see that, but he competes with the best of them, and I mean, he does his job, and I don't know if he's worthy of a max contract just because he doesn't have like the best proven track record, but I mean, if they believe in him, then it's their money. So
yeah, right. Mark, let's hear from you.
Yeah, he does fit in very well with the team. I think he's kind of the new era center. Like short, very versatile. Like, if you watch the games, like he kind of runs the offense sometimes for the Heat. Like he's doing a lot of the ball handling. Like he brings the ball up sometimes, and which is kind of crazy to see. But yeah, just based off this last year, like big part in that finals appearance, I think he was deserving of this. So yeah, I think he's also just going to get better.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. He is a fascinating player, a really, really interesting player, and fits perfectly. He couldn't have gone to a better spot culture-wise, fit-wise, than that Miami Heat team. I'm not sure he gets that max deal anywhere else. If I'm being totally honest, I don't know. It's an impossible conversation to have because he's not anywhere else. He's with Miami. But I don't know. You say he's kind of the new age center. For me, I've always been a big fan of how tall can you get your center to be. I want 7 foot plus at my center position. Bam Adebayo is a rare athletic talent and a rare playmaker, like you mentioned, at the center position. But if you asked me if I wanted Bam Adebayo, who's a great playmaker, or I wanted Nikola Jokic, who's a great playmaker and is close to or 7 foot plus, I take Nikola Jokic every time. 6'9" kind of scares me. The only other guy I can think of is Daniel Theis up in Boston, who's 6'8", and stinks at the center. So I don't really see this as being the era. I think the super tall center will never go out of style just for what they can do around the rim with their height. But Bam Adebayo, for sure, especially on this Miami team, is very, very deserving of this contract.
I think he makes up a lot of like what his height takes away from. I think he makes up a lot of it with his athleticism.
Absolutely.
I mean, I remember that dumb block against Tatum, and like that was one of the best defensive plays I've ever seen.
No, he's always in the right spot. He's always exactly where he needs to be to make a play, offense or defense, and that's super invaluable. Especially a team like the Heat that relies on guys being good teammates to each other. I think that's kind of the Miami Heat system, is set your teammates up well, and Bam Adebayo does that probably better than any other center in the league. Maybe saving for Nikola Jokic out there in Denver. Let's move on. Let's come back to Brandon Ingram. Actually, we didn't talk too much about him. He's kind of a curious case. He came over in that Anthony Davis trade to the Pelicans, along with Lonzo and a bunch of other guys. How do you guys feel about giving him a max deal with basically 1 year of legitimate production under his belt? The years in Los Angeles are underwhelming, to say the least. He comes out of that draft class where Jayson Tatum is an instant starter and instant star. And so people were kind of looking for that, and he wasn't that, but it looks like he is that now. Ryan, what do you think about giving the max deal to a guy with 1 year?
I think when he was on the Lakers, you could just see that he was only scratching the surface to his potential. And I mean, you knew that he was going to average like some extreme numbers, but the Lakers weren't the opportunity that he needed. So I liked when he went over to the Pelicans, but I do think they're riding a lot of giving him the contract on just one season.
Yeah.
I think maybe they could have done a bridge deal, but I guess they expect that with the team around him and the success he had last year that he's going to continue that. So I like it though. Like I like Ingram he's only 23. He averaged 24 points last year.
For sure.
So yeah, like I hope he can keep it up, but obviously if he can't, then the contract's going to come to bite them. So.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. Basketball's kind of tough. Other sports you have, I think of in football, you have the franchise tag where you can just slap a 1 year contract on a guy and see how it goes. But in basketball, when a good young player comes up for their max deal extension, they're going to ask for the max deal extension, and they're not going to want anything less than that. But again, I don't really see him as a number one guy. I think out of these 5 guys, it's Tatum, Mitchell are my guaranteed number one guys. Brandon Ingram has certainly the possibility to be that, but I don't know how I feel about that right now. Mark, can you convince me one way or the other?
I don't know. Most improved player from last year.
Right.
It's big. And I think the only thing is that he has to prove that he can win and that he can lead a team to win. So, the Pelicans have a decent team. Like Lonzo, Ingram, Zion. I don't know who else. So it's a very young team. But yeah, I don't know who else they would pay. It's Ingram or Zion who, they should focus on keeping in New Orleans. So
Yeah. No, I think they probably looked out at the free agent field this year and saw that Jay Crowder was going to be the best small forward available,
yeah,
and they said, okay, we better keep this guy, you know. And for them, if this doesn't work out, you know, he's there for 4 years, and you're not going to have to pay Zion until Brandon Ingram's contract has 1 year or 0 years left on it. So that's not going to overlap. So you don't really have to worry about that. And then, yeah, who else do you pay? Lonzo's not going to command that kind of money. I would keep Lonzo unless he asks for something stupid. But, you know, I think he's going to get a nice mid-level contract. And then, yeah, everyone else is not going to command that kind of money. So, yeah, why not? You've got a guy who's a potential superstar and sure looked like it last year. So why not?
I had him on my fantasy team. He was
did you?
balling. He was going crazy, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I've never played fantasy basketball.
Oh,
Yeah.
I drafted De'Aaron Fox, Brandon Ingram, and Tatum. I had them all on my team.
Boy. That lines up nicely.
And I traded Fox.
Okay.
I traded Fox because he kept getting injured. So
Yeah,
that's also a downside to Fox, his play
That's
style.
true. Yeah, that's a good thing to hit on. Maybe we'll come back to fantasy basketball in a minute.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I kind of mentioned Russell Westbrook maybe as a mold for De'Aaron Fox. Russell Westbrook broke down fast. Once the injuries started coming, it went down a hill for him. De'Aaron Fox has started getting injured a lot earlier than Russell Westbrook did in his career, and plays with the same kind of physical, you know, he leans on his physical ability. So, yeah, it's an important thing to bring up.
Like a Derrick Rose type of thing?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose, no injury concerns all through college or anything, shows up, busts that knee, and it's over, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, De'Aaron Fox has had nothing that serious, but it's those, you know, little ankle injury here and a hamstring here, and, yeah, you just wonder if you can hold up to years and years.
I don't think that play style is sustainable for an 82-game season.
No.
Like, you can do that in college, you can get away with it, but once you're playing against like tough competition every night, big guys, like that's so dangerous.
It's a great point to make because when you're playing at De'Aaron Fox went to Kentucky, right? He went to Kentucky, and when you're running down the lane in Kentucky, you're gonna slip right past everyone. But when you do that in the NBA, eventually someone like Dwight Howard's gonna stand right in front of you, and you're gonna hit a wall. You're going to hit it hard, and you're probably going to get hurt. I don't know. Brandon Ingram and De'Aaron Fox would be the two biggest questions on here for me. And then Jayson Tatum, Donovan Mitchell would be the two ones I feel at least 95% about. You can never be 100% on these deals, but those ones I feel pretty close to 100% about. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
What about Donovan Mitchell? Let's focus on the Jazz more broadly. Do you guys see any better success coming for them this year? They've been kind of creeping into the playoffs these last couple of years. Do they have any future ahead of them in the lifetime of this contract?
Man, that's tough. I don't know.
The West, like we mentioned earlier, the West is just so stacked. I would say no. If I had to pick one or the other, I think Rudy Gobert is a year older, and another year removed from being back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year. Plus, everyone hates him now, so I don't know if anyone's gonna even want him on the court after what he did last March. But then outside of that, it's like Derek Favors is their third option.
Joe Ingles.
It's just uninspiring from the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, they have a weird team.
Yeah, it is a weird makeup. I love Donovan Mitchell. I really like Rudy Gobert, and then everything else, I just don't care about at all, and I don't think it's going to make a difference in that Western Conference.
Yeah, I think they just re-signed Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah, that's right.
But I know like when they play him, they literally just put him on the court and like tell him to score, like try and score every possession.
Yeah. Now you got to look at these teams and go, where does the scoring come from, right? You can make as many free agency signings as you want, but today in this league you have to score. And some of these teams you look at, and it's scoring coming from one guy or two guys, and that's got to get fixed.
Yeah, just looking at their roster, they do not have like any sort of depth.
Yeah,
and like
who's their backup point guard? Is Mike Conley still there?
Yeah, it's Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson, and then and Emmanuel Mudiay, if you want to call him. You want to swing him in the mix,
done.
But
he's.
Yeah, it's just a tough roster to look at, and they're not like extremely young either. So.
No,
I'm telling you, it's weird.
Yeah.
Big fan of Joe Ingles, though. I love that guy.
Sure, yeah, no, he sounds like a great guy.
What a bum.
Yeah, I just don't want him on my basketball team. To me, they're kind of they're about to become the Detroit Pistons of the West, because Detroit for years, I always use them as my example because it's so obvious, but Andre Drummond kept them right in the middle for like 5 years, and they never won anything, and they never lost enough, and they always had a crap draft pick and could never get any free agents and couldn't do anything. So I feel like Donovan Mitchell and maybe Rudy Gobert, we'll see where that goes. But I think maybe those two guys will keep them right in the 8th seed or just around that spot for a bunch of years. And they're not going to get a whole heck of a lot better. Ryan's yawning, so we're going to move on to the next topic because he's so bored with the show. Since he hates this topic so much, we're going to move on. Sorry, Ryan.
Oh my gosh.